this is an assembly guide to the Incipiens, which is at version 2.6.7 or something like that. I don't know anymore. And this is just going to be me talking about how this blaster was designed and how to assemble it in basic steps. So first of all, the blaster composes of several components, but the general idea is that you've got three major ones. You've got the front, and then you've got a left side and a right side, and these will be assembled first. If we're going to take a closer look into the blaster, I'll just remove my mocks and some of these things. So what you can see here is that we've got one of the shell parts right here, which consists of a lot of components, but the main thing that I want to highlight is that this is basically what you'll need to assemble first. So this is the right shell cover, and there's a couple of things in it. There's a guide down here, which is meant to showcase the ejection for the stock. This little channel down here is made out of the injection rod, which is in the step file. Let's just see if I can get that one out. Right there. And then I've got a key for that, so it stays in the channel. And then there's a couple of, that's a lid, just to close the channel off. And then there's a small room for a spring. And ignore that little hole. It's basically meant to put in a screw so you can extend this as far as you want. And the idea is that you place this rod through the hole at the bottom right here and push it all the way through. Then when it reaches that point where the lid is at, you can actually attach the key to it and push it forward again so it stays inside the channel. Then you place the spring in it, and then the lid and the spacer at the end, and then that should extend automatically out through that channel right there. So that's the first thing you're gonna install. Other than, of course, the heat inserts. There's a heat insert right there. That's an M3. Then there's a heat insert right there, which is M2, M2, and M2. This one up here is a bit tricky because you need to take like a screwdriver or something like that so you can drive it in and then flatten it with that surface right there. But it's doable. It's doable. All right. So once you've got this, then and this ejection stock installed, then you can take the right shell part right there and place that and connect it via that channel right there and that channel there with two screws and bolts and nuts. One thing which is important is that you install one more bit, and that's a part of the trigger, which is let's just see, there's a small or part of the catch system perhaps. I can't remember where I put it. Catch system assembly. So there's the catch bars which runs in those channels on either side, which you need to install. And you can see there's a small tap down here which needs to go in the direction towards the catch. All right. So you need to install one of those before you screw the toe shell parts together. But that should be fine to do as well. Then you can move on and insert and place the other heat inserts. There's one up here, M3, M3 down here, M3, M3. There's one down here, which I don't think I've actually placed a heat insert into, but that's just an M3 screw going into the shell as far as I remember. Then there's one up here, and down here that's an M2 screw, or heat insert, M2 heat insert right there. All right, so that's basically one of the shell parts done, and that's probably the easiest one to get going with. That's just the start. Because this one is separated from the electronics and everything else, it's running for itself. So if we're just gonna take out the, I'll just see if my camera roll is still rolling. It seems like it's still going. That's brilliant. So now we're going to assemble the main parts of this. And I'll just do it like this, so we'll look at the left part. Right here, we've got the left part of the blaster, and we've got the left rear cover. These things are exactly the same, basically, except there's a lid for the left rear cover, which is where our wires will be going. So we'll do the same thing again, where you place in the ejection rod and stock ejection down here. Right here is the stock release mechanism, and we'll need to install that as well. So we'll just do a you'll need a small spring up here, right there. Then you'll need a small screw, M3 as far as I recall. No, M2 screw going into this part right here. Yeah, and then you'll need, of course, the small buttons for it, and the lever as well. So that's about it. The spring needs to be really small because like the room up here is like only a couple of millimeters as far as I remember. It's basically nothing. So that's just going to be a small screw. As for the remaining bits right here, in this shell part, you'll need to install the trigger mechanism right here. And it's not under the trigger anymore, of course, it's under the stock catch. So there's a few things here, and we'll start out with the catch bars because it's probably the easiest to recall how these work. So you've got the catch bar which goes in there before you screw in the whole assembly. So you'll place the catch bar, you'll place the stock ejection rod, and since these are binded, I can't remove those without removing the other. But you'll place these two in here, and you'll place that mechanism right there, and then you'll screw in the two halves of the left shell part. So as soon as you do that, those things, the stock ejection and all of this, will be locked into place. Then you are gonna go and move on to making the remaining things. And by remaining things, I mean basically the wiring and the electronics and the stuff which has to do with that. So we'll just add the some of the stuff right now. We'll just take MUX and we'll remove the magazine and the dart, and then we'll take a look at the electronics. So right down here, I've placed my Arduino Xiao, which is placed upside down so it'll fit right there. Then you can have all the solders running up from this point. In this area, you've got two access points down here, which is for power, plus and minus. Run them through that channel and into this one, and then all the way over here, where you've got a buck converter space. You've also got room to make like a ground hop or whatever you like for that. And then you can run the plus from this place onwards to the MOSFET over here, which will be connected to the motor as per the wire diagram. Also, on top of this one right here, you've got the small 5-way switch, which will be locked into place with like this. Let me see if I can find the bracket. It's right here, like that. The wires can be pulled out through the side on both sides, and this one will be locked into place with a 2mm screw. I could probably extend that hole just slightly for that to go down easier. I also think that I made this hole too big for that. I did. I'll just remove or reduce this slightly, like so. Yeah, so basically we'll just do like this. All right, so you can lock this into place right here. And that's about it for the electronics. The cables are going from the switch down to the Arduino, and then you've got a wire channel which runs on the other side right here, where you can actually just pull the wires through, right through there, lead them all the way through, and you can even get inside of this one. You can even pull the wires all the way down here, and it shouldn't be a problem. There's lots of space. One thing to note is you'll probably have a hard time getting this one on afterwards, so it's probably a good idea to drag the wires through already before you wire all of this up. You can run that in the signal and the wire for the pusher right there. There's also room for a small max switch if you feel like doing that at some point. There's this miniature switch right there, and then just a max switch. So once the magazine is inserted, you can register that. I haven't written any code for that though. Yeah, so we'll just add the rear cover left back on, so we can take a look at that. That was the lid, and then there's the body right there. So once you've got the wires run through, I normally just, once the wires leave this channel right there, then I'll pull it up and into the switch right there, and then let it continue with like the 4 signal wires, or the plus minus and SDA and SCL for the screen, and run them up through this channel right here, which goes up here and then through there and up here. So that's fairly easy to get that done right about now. Yeah. So once you're done with that, you'll beginning to start the assembly of the last bits. And what you'll need is you'll need to get the well, first of all, we'll need to get the trigger and the catch assembly installed, and that's fairly simple. It's basically a drop down used with 2mm pins, and the pins are I've written in the dimensions of the pins, so that should be in the hardware somewhere. I'll see if I can actually get it here. Let's just see if I can find them. Yeah, so you've got 2mm pins here, and it's a 31mm long pin right there, and it's a, now of course I haven't measured this one. Let's measure it out for you now. Finish. That one is 25mm. And then the catch bars, which is down here, and those are 29.5 millimeters long, but that was because I had to leave just a bit of extra room so they didn't run into the walls. Got two of those to connect the catch bars down here. The catch bars run through the other parts of the assembly, which is a small sliding block which sits down here. And then up here you've got the swing or the lever or whatever we need to call it. And then you've got the catch right there, which sits on top of it. So once we look into the body, we've got it right there again. We can see the whole thing right here if I just click this on right there. So you've got the catch lever with a spring down here, and there's a small groove for it to install it so it doesn't pop out. Also sits right there. I've extended the hole as much as possible. That's 5 millimeters in diameter. Then you can have the entire installation except this one, which is obviously in the other shell. But when you make sure that it's all the way back as if it's like the spring is all the way up, then it should be easy to just assemble. So once you click them together, it should fit. All right, so then you've got the wires running down here and all the way through here, all the way down here. And as for the trigger, now the trigger is fairly easy because it's basically just a drop down. The only thing you need to make sure of is that these screws catch the bars, and then you need to have a spring in here. But again, there's a groove for it. It's fairly big. I've made that like 7 millimeters, so you can put in like a big spring if you want that. As for the trigger, I've made a small groove down here and one, and then it runs in the entire channel up here. So that's fairly linear when you push it. And so I think we need to get a bit of trigger in at some point, but I mean, it looks fairly decent right now. Right, then there's the cam, and the cam is fairly easy to make as well. You've got the motor, which goes into this barrel cam. It's locked in place with a small piece of metal, and that piece of metal, that's dimension depends on whether it's a 6 millimeter axle or an 8 millimeter axle. Or does it? Yeah, it's slightly bigger for the 8 millimeter axle. It needs to be a bit longer. I could actually probably make that so it fits anyway, but I'll have to do that at some other point. But it's basically it's meant as file to fit or cut to fit, because otherwise it's too loose for some, and then it's not good enough for other people. So it's really hard to do it as a manufacturer to make it from the home. Let me just see if I can find my motor again, because that's actually fairly nice to have on the screen. Mox electronics and motor. Show all bodies. All right. So as for the bearing, you'll have a bearing sitting right down here by the motor, which will help it keep it straight and aligned. On top of that, you'll have the ball, and that'll sit right there in that groove. One thing I noticed is that it's really hard to actually get the other things into it if it's not placed right before you combine the two shell parts. So what I like to do is I'll add the ball in there with the cam approximately here just to keep it in place, and then I'll add the let me see, the dart gate is right there. So that one, and then the pusher, I'll add that one as well with the barrel in before I actually put it in. And that's simply just to keep that ball in place so it doesn't slide around. It's still sitting down there in its groove right there. So it's basically just to keep that in place. All right. Please remember to put in the O-ring for the pusher. That's annoying to put on at a later point. And you'll also need to insert the plunger tube. I found that I needed to add just a tad of glue to the sides. I've made it slightly too wide, and that's basically just not to crack it when you insert it. So it'll fit there, but you'll need something to hold it in place. I used glue, worked brilliantly, no problem there. As for, and we might as well just, yeah, we'll just take this last bit as well, because then you'll add the heat insert up here, and that's an M2 heat insert in the pusher. The dart gate, you'll need to add a few heat inserts as well. Probably, like, you can do that beforehand. You could also do it now, but there's one right there, which is sitting awfully close to the barrel. So it's a good idea to have the barrel inside that before you actually put in the heat switch, just to make sure that the entire thing doesn't melt down. Yeah. So far so good. So basically that's the entire main body of the blaster. You can now basically throw in the other side. So it's right side and the left side covers combined, like so. And that's basically the hardest part. You'll also have the barrel sticking out right now. And now you can actually you can see that if you put in the heat inserts and you attach a return spring, you should actually be able to see it running with no loads on, because it'll be like it's combined with all these screws now, so you can turn on the motor and turn on the firmware and see that the screen lights up and the return spring is in place, and you can run it and see if that works. You can test the joystick and all of that at this point. Please remember, and I forgot this, but down here is the mag release. You need to put that into place in the left hand or in the right hand shell before you actually assemble it. And that's the only thing which doesn't really go in the other side. Mag release is right there. And I haven't changed this for ages. So basically, it's a small switch or a small loose part you'll drop into the left-hand shell, and down here is the outer part, and then you've got an inner part where it sits with a screw and a spring, so it'll force it upwards. So yeah, we'll just add that one. The battery lid, basically, as long as you have the heat insert here, you can always add the battery lid later, just by prying it slightly open and inserting it, but it's no problem whatsoever to do that. The battery lid consists of a top lid, which you can glue on, and like the switch down here, which is basically a print in place one bit. So you just need to put in the spring, print out the lid, and add it with a bit of glue, and then that works. Okay, what I'm missing? Yeah, so I added a spot for LED lights, but there's no button for it outside. I was thinking to use one of the five-way switches, five-way switch buttons to do that. As for the head, those around here on the sides, they're just for visuals. Has no possible way of doing anything. All of these holes are meant to be there as heat ventilation, so it's very ideally to keep those. The bearing is just an extra bit I made for fun. I haven't tested that one yet. Out here is two more heat inserts you'll need to install, and then in here there's an M3 and heat insert as well, which you'll need to install. If we remove this front bit, you can actually tell, oh goddamn mucks. There's room for a couple of screws down here, and it's 40 millimeters M3, which you'll need to get directly into these holes right here. And the issue with those is that there's not room enough for having any heat inserts here. So that's the last part we'll attach, basically. Then otherwise you'll just glue this one in, and then attach the two flat bars, and then the stock, and then you're basically good to go. Drop in the plunger tube, spring, and truss bearings, and fire off the blaster. All right, so that's it, and good luck with the boat.